Did you see that too? What the f was that shit?
What's happening, guys? It's your buddy Grizz, and Battlefield 5, or Battlefield 2016, or whatever you want to call it at this point, has been said to be in development for some time now. That's right, we should be getting a brand spanking new Battlefield game this year. So how awesome is that? Awesomely awesome, if you ask me. So with this news, I thought it would be a good time to sort of reflect on the past 2 and some years and ask the question, how did Battlefield 4 turn out, all things considered? Also, I figured it'd be a good time to sort of present what my hopes and dreams, I guess, are for this new Battlefield title. So as you all know, Battlefield 4 didn't have the greatest start. A lot of people feel as though DICE rushed the game's release and that it wasn't ready or stable enough when it did release. I, for one, agree wholeheartedly with that sentiment. Battlefield 4 definitely had its issues when it released, and the Frostbite 3 engine was what I would call chunky at best. Even with all the improvements DICE LA made to it, it's still not as fluid and satisfying as Battlefield 3 was, the Frostbite 2 engine. And still, to this day, when I compare the two games in terms of fun level, I still think Battlefield 3 takes the prize over BF4. It just feels better in every single aspect still. If I were to give Battlefield 4 a grade for overall goodness, I guess, for lack of a better term, it would probably land itself a solid B. It wasn't terrible, and I'm not trying to paint the game in a bad light here either, but it definitely didn't meet my expectations. That being said, I did spend a lot of time playing BF4, and I did have a lot of fun most of the time. My biggest gripe about the game would definitely be the whole tick rate or netcode issues that, even to this day, with the higher tick rate servers, are still somewhat apparent. But I'm not here to talk about the problems the game had throughout its lifespan. That video has been made 1,000 times over by 1,000 different YouTubers, and you don't need to hear it again from me. The point I'm trying to get across here is that while BF4 was a lot of fun and I did enjoy my time with the game, it definitely didn't stack up to what I expected from it. To this day, I still enjoy playing BF3 more than BF4. Battlefield 3 is the highest rated title in the franchise when it comes to player satisfaction, and that is no secret. What they tried to do with BF4 was ambitious, and it got a lot of people excited with that whole evolution thing, but I think they just missed the mark ever so slightly on execution. Now, before I sound like I'm bashing the game too much, let's talk about what BF4 did well. One thing that BF4 did extremely well with was the support that the game received from the developers after release, and the support that it continues to get. I feel like even though the game had problems when it launched, DICE did a really good job of listening to the cries of the community and working on solving the common problems that everyone complained about. Also, DLC content was awesome, and the fact that they gave some of it to us anyway for free was excellent for their brand and a great marketing technique. In fact, Battlefield 4 still has a growing player base to this day, which is an incredible feat not only for a game that is over 2 years old, but also for any game in this day and age in general, especially in the first-person genre. People move on really quickly nowadays, and BF4 has done a great job of keeping players interested, as well as attracting new players all the time. So on the content and support side, BF4 gets an A+ for sure. What brings the grade down in my eyes is the amount of bullshit that's in this game. I love the fact that there are so many weapons in the game. That is definitely a must for any Battlefield title, but my god, there are so many gadgets in the game that are just really more annoying than anything, more annoying than effective, and I found it attributed to, it was like the worst part about BF4, the amount of random chaos that goes on in any given match. From the slams, to the SRA, to the supremely annoying accipiter thing, pickup thingy, I don't even know what it's called, the railgun, the SUAV, and the UCAV, even though I loved the UCAV before they patched it. It was all just a little bit too much, if you ask me. What ended up happening was you'd be on this awesome kill streak, taking out people left and right, and then you get hit in the face with a SUAV by a level 15 recon. Seriously? So frustrating. But like I said, I don't want to spend this whole video griping about things I didn't like in BF4. It gets a B grade from me overall. Now you have an idea, or a little bit of an idea why. Let's move on. Now I'd like to talk about Battlefield 5, or Battlefield 2016, and what my hopes and dreams are for it. So the debate is already going on with regards to what the setting is going to be, like what time period it will be set in, I guess. I've heard some people say that it will be set in the future, and I've heard some people say that it's going to be set in like World War II times as well. Now, I think, or rather I hope, both standings are true. But I really hope that it's not 100% set in the future with all these futuristic weapons and equipment, because I feel like that is getting really stale. This is the direction a lot of first-person shooter games are taking nowadays. All the future stuff and wall running and parkour and all that. While that is all well and good, I feel like if Battlefield went in this direction, it would alienate a lot of its veteran players and fans, myself included. Battlefield has always been sort of a pseudo-military simulator, and I say pseudo because obviously it doesn't go as far as, say, Arma 3 when it comes to the realism aspect. It's more of a hybrid of a simulator and a good old-fashioned FPS romper. So to take the series in a direction where it's going to lose some of the little realism it has by introducing crazy futuristic weapons and power suits that let you run on walls and stuff, I feel like that would be a really bad move. Now, I'm hoping for one of the following two scenarios. First, I'd like to see a timeline we haven't seen yet, like, say, the Cold War era I think would be perfect. I think it'd be a perfect setting for the next Battlefield, not too far in the past that we have to use, M1 Garands and Thompson submachine guns exclusively, but not futuristic either. I want to see real stuff that exists today, not some made-up gun that shoots, electronic pulses or gamma radiation or some crap like that. Give me an AK, give me an M16, stuff that is actually in existence today, which is why I think the Cold War era would be a really, really cool place to set this game. It would be really cool to experience that. The second and slightly less desirable scenario I'd be down with is like half in the past and half in the future, much like what Black Ops 2 did with the flashbacks to Mason in the 70s and then the present time with Mason's son in like 2026 or whatever it was. I think that would be really cool for Battlefield, since we already have vehicles and pickup weapons that are map specific. You could have half the maps be in the past, where you'd only have access to, normal present day vehicles, weapons, and equipment, and the other half of the maps would be in the future with all the crazy made up weapons and floaty tanks and things of that nature. I'm not sure how they would pull that off with the current loadout system, but hey, a guy can dream, can't he? As cool as that would be, I'm not going to get my hopes up too much for that being the way the game actually plays out, and if I had to pick between the two, I'd definitely much rather have the game set in the Cold War era or in the past sometime, past or present, over the future. I do not want to do parkour and fly around with a jetpack. If I wanted to do that, I would buy Black Ops 3. Let us play Battlefield the way it was meant to be played, like a pseudo-military simulator. I somehow highly doubt we'll ever see the US Army start outfitting its soldiers with jetpacks, so let's just keep Battlefield that way too. It's bad enough the railgun exists in BF4, we don't need an entire game with weapons like that in it. And let's not even open the can of worms that is futuristic vehicles. Could you imagine the silliness they'll come up with for like a futuristic tank or helicopter? I just have really bad visions of like a helicopter that can turn on a dime and cloak itself and all sorts of tomfoolery that would just make the game super unbelievable and campy. Next thing you know, Loki will show up with the Tesseract and open a portal that might let a bunch of aliens into the map or something. Okay, I might be stretching a bit there. But just to recap a little bit, I really hope Battlefield 5 isn't set entirely in the future as so many other FPS games are doing nowadays. It's just getting really tired, if you ask me, and I feel like if you want to be different nowadays and not follow the pack, setting your game in the past or present would be your best bet, DICE. But knowing EA, they'll probably pressure them into following suit with all the other game developers out there because they're proven profit turners, and we'll probably end up with some ridiculous bullshit with hover tanks and choppers that can become invisible, and soldiers flying around everywhere with jetpacks. I sincerely hope that is not the case, but I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised if that's what it ends up being. Now, the last thing I want to speculate on is the amount of players in a given game. I'm wondering if DICE are going to try to keep the 32 versus 32, 64 max player size match, or are they going to try to increase the size to, say, 48 versus 48, or even 64 versus 64, 120 players? That would be crazy. I, for one, think increasing the player count could work, but I feel like it would only work on certain maps and probably only in the Conquest game mode as well. Take some BF4 maps as an example. 120 players on Operation Locker would be absolutely no good at all. Nobody would be able to advance at all. It would be insanely hard to even capture one flag with that many people down there. However, on maps like Rogue Transmission or Lankang Dam, I could see it working. These are two maps that are usually dominated by vehicles and can take, if you're on foot, you can take anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes of running around just to find another enemy on foot to duel with. And that's no fun, especially when you can't even take 5 steps without being blown to bits by a tank sitting on a hill. So in that scenario, I think the bigger games could probably work, but if I'm being 100% realistic here, we probably won't see a change in the game sizes, as 64 players is quite a lot for a server to handle, even if it's got, really badass hardware. Especially when you consider the fact that every bullet fired is its own object the server needs to track. So it just seems like it's a little bit too ambitious for Battlefield to me. Games like PlanetSide have shown that it is possible, but I don't think Battlefield is going to be on that level, at least for this next iteration. But that's pretty much all I wanted to say on the matter for now anyway. I'm really interested in knowing what you guys think the next Battlefield will be like. Let me know what you would like to see as far as the setting for the next title goes. Like, do you want World War II era, present day, or do you want it to be futuristic? Also, what is the one thing that you hope changes the most from BF4 to BF5? Let me know down in the comments below, guys. Let's get a discussion going. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please don't hesitate to hit that like button, as it really helps me out when you do. And as always, if you're new to the channel, I would love it if you hit that subscribe button, friend. Thank you all once again for watching. My name's Grizz, and I'll see you all in the near future.